So tonight's video is on a topic that doesn't often get talked about much. It's quite often hidden from us, but yet it affects all of us. And that's death. So death is a topic that is frowned upon. There's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of suffering. But there's also, death is a beautiful thing. Stay with me, because I've worked with many people now who are terminally ill. I work with people who have died, who've been told they've only got a few weeks, months to live. So I have to face death all the time. And since coaching, death has been really a spiritual awakening for me. It's made me get excited about living. And if we all understood death and we was all around it more, we wouldn't be fearing it. We'd actually be living our lives and enjoying our human experience. But yet, because death is hidden from us, it's not around us at all. So when people die, they're put in a box, a coffin. If you ever did see them, they got makeup on. So we're not interacting with death. It's taken all out of our hands. It's hidden from us. But because it is hidden from us, we're scared of death. We're scared of dying. It's a horrible thing. But that's because I believe that we're educated and we believe that that's the end. There's nothing else after here. And that way, if you know that death is the end, we're told that we're born and we die and that's it. We want to live as long as we can and enjoy every moment. But yet imagine if you were told when you were kids, you come out and you said, look, when you grow up, you're going to get older and you're going to have all these different bodies. It's like a spacesuit. And then you're going to get to a teenager, you're going to get hair and you're going to start seeing women. And then you're going to get older and you're going to be super fit. And then you're going to get married and then you're going to get old. And then you start deteriorating. Your hair disappears, your hearing goes, you become blind. And in the end, you become useless to most people. And then you die. And then you go off onto this wonderful, amazing experience. So this point here is just the expansion into the next world. Imagine if you just got told that that was your truth. Because if you knew then, every moment that I am a human, and I'm living this life, I can enjoy it. We've got all this pressure on ourselves to get things and want more. And then we get to a point where we have the aging process, which is a natural thing, midlife crisis, hitting 50 and it all goes downhill. But you just got to think, if we spend the remaining time of our life here fearing death, you're not playing the roles that you are put here to play properly. So let me just explain that one. As a grandparent, what do your grandkids need from their grandparent? What do their kids need to look after their kids as the grandparent? Do they want someone who's worried and fearing death? Or do they want someone that is going to be that grandparent, going to be that mum? And it's almost that acceptance of, it really hit me is when I work with clients and they have been told they've only got 2 weeks to live. And that whole fear of dying, I ask a question. Okay, if you've just got 2 weeks, we can accept that that's what you've been told. What would be the best 2 weeks that you could have? And I promise you, it's like in a moment, there's awakening, like, oh my God. And they let go of all this stuff that they're fearing about, and then they decide what they want. But unfortunately, they've only got a small amount of time now. But that moment, we could be like that always while we're living. We don't have to get to the end of our life to have a spiritual awakening, to have a realization that I've been holding on to stress far too much. I've been fearing and worrying about dying when I could have just enjoyed my whole life. And then when you do work with people that are dying and they are old, and you ask them for words of wisdom, enjoy every moment, forgive, smile, be free. do what you want to do. They're common things that keep coming out of people's mouths. So it's almost like, why do we not just listen? Why do we not spend more time with the elderly? Because if you actually give them the time and you listen to them and hold the space, because they're not useless, they've lived what they're meant to live, and now they're meant to be. We're too much of doers and not beers, just being here present. And what happens is when they get old, we just pump them with loads of drugs, so they're not really being, because their whole body is just going all over the place. We put them in homes. Yeah, it's a really interesting subject, and it's one that the more people I speak to, the more it kind of hits home. So if we realise that on this life that we do get old and then we do die, that's part of the human experience. That's one thing. The second thing is the afterlife, because I'm not religious, I wasn't spiritual before, and I did used to believe that it was just that's it, that's ended. But I don't know. And the more I've looked into this stuff and the more I speak to people, the more I really believe that there is something else. But even if you don't know, you can focus on what you think it is, which is not what you want, or you can focus on something else, that there is something else after. But you have the choice to think of either of them, because we don't know. But at that same time, we can still enjoy our life here. But there's a guy called Zach Bush, and if you watch his stuff, he's incredible. His knowledge is unbelievable, or believable, and the way he just explains things always hits home with me. And he did a video, and his job at the time was, you know, in the movies where they resuscitate people and they put the things on. So he did that, and he said in the movies, every time someone comes back to life again. He said in real life, 5%. And he said they rarely ever hardly come back when they get to that. He said there was one night where he's on shift, and the last three people, he brought them all back. He said that's unheard of. That would be counted as impossible. And he said the most interesting thing that he experienced that night was he brought all three of these people back, a 9-year-old, an older lady, a priest, all completely different people. And they all said exactly the same thing. Why did you bring me back? And he was really thrown back by it. And then the second thing that came out of all their mouths as well, it's the first time that I felt accepted where I was. And it was in that moment that he realised that there's a lot more to the experience that we have, what happens after, because all three people had shared the same insight, and it all come at the same night. So it was kind of like a awakening for him. But when he said that, I just thought, wow, okay, if there are cases like that, and there's plenty more now, I've looked into it and spoken to a lot more people, then I'm going to take that as an ideology of what happens next and enjoy every moment that I got here. When we talk about death, it allows us to realise that we should then celebrate life. And it's okay to be fearful of death. It's okay to be scared of death. It's also okay to celebrate it and celebrate the life that people have lived. The teachings, the experiences, they played a part being here, and they played a big part of your story too. So again, if you can take all the happy moments, because they're all thoughts, and mix them with a tiny of the sad ones as well, and then at least you can enjoy that moment and accept death, and then realise that there is something else after. So I'm now studying to become a soul midwife, and that is to then help more people talk about death. And sometimes you have to help them make that transition over. You're just being with them, being present, holding space, listening to them when that transition point. And there's even some cases where soul midwives help them go over, and then they come back again, which is a bit more spiritual, but I'm all open and really keen to learn more. So if you'd like to know more about this subject, it's something that I work on quite a lot now. I'm always learning, I'm always studying the body, but I'm also now experiencing through my coaching and getting to speak to people. And when you start speaking about this topic and learning more about it and being around it a bit more, it honestly takes a huge weight off of your shoulders. It allows you to enjoy life a bit more, allows you to appreciate life a bit more, but it also allows you to play the roles that you're meant to be playing at this point, as good as you can, as your best self. So please message me for any questions, and I'd be more than happy to have a deeper conversation with you. There'll be another discussion on Lads Talk Health around the same topic, because me and my business partner James, we also work together, and we've got some really incredible stories to share with you then. So I hope you enjoyed that and have a great evening.